Equal treatment. Okay, now who can object to equal treatment, right? However, the NHS would fall under unequal treatment because they'll say, I am Mr. American or Mr. German health provider. How am I supposed to make an honest living if you buggers keep subsidising the NHS? That is unequitable, unfair treatment. So you have to stop. The NHS will go if they sign it. Now, they're not stupid, they're not going to come in day one and go, right, that's it, close the doors. But if they sign it, then we have no leg to stand on. We will lose every single time we go to arbitration. The government at the moment, well, the Tories are just saying keep them on because they're very much in favour of the entire thing. Labour are just cretinous because I saw a briefing document given out to their MPs recently, and it says, well, we like all the benefits we give, but we just think we'd like to do without the investor-state dispute settlement. Okay, people just need to get out more. If you look at the history of the agreement, the NAFTA agreement, which is where they first put together the trade agreement with the bilateral investment, that's where they married the two together. The text is all up there, and what you can see is, it's very nice, you can see the original text, which was nearly all drafted by the American negotiators. And then you find the places where there's a bracket, and it'll say inside, from here on can we replace the following text with this bit. And you can see how the text evolved. And lots of it did. The Canadians said, could we scratch this out, could we add this word? The Mexicans said, could we add this form of words down here? Except for Chapter 11. Whenever you hear about NAFTA, they talk about Chapter 11. Chapter 11 is the bilateral investment treaty. That's what Chapter 11 is. And not one word or comma of that language was changed from the moment they submitted it to the moment it was. If the Labour Party really think the Americans are going to go, oh, okay, well, let's just not have that bit in. That's like saying, oh no, cars are very pleasing if they have an engine. I tell you what, why don't we just have not without engines? They'll be fine then, we'll all have cars and they'll be clean. It's just a non-starter. And it boggles my brain that a major political party can be that clueless. But they are. And I know through a friend of mine, a former Labour minister is this close to saying, that's it, I'm out here. So I think this issue will tear Labour apart unless they just sort themselves out. Because at the moment, they're lost. And I don't like what the Conservatives want to do, but at least they understand what they're going to do. Labour have no idea. They just have no idea. Okay, anyway, BBC would also go, because you can't support that. You can't, that's unfair to NBC, ABC and all the rest of them, and Fox News. And so those things which we say, well, we should be able to support that with tax, that's what we decide to do as a sovereign nation, not under this agreement, because that would fall foul of the equitable treatment. Equal treatment. Fair and equitable is another one of those meaningless things. It just means you've got to treat the company fairly. Okay, sounds good. Let me give you an example of a case that was fought and lost on fair and equitable treatment. There was a company called Pacific Rim. I'm sorry to give you all this stuff, but like I said, I could stand up here and make any old crap up. If I give you the citation, you can look it up. Right? This was Pacific Rim bought one of the most polluted places in the whole planet. It's in, I can't remember. And it's a gold mine, so there's a lot of arsenic. And they were given it on the agreement, it's there in the contract, that they would clean up various parts of the mess that was there. They didn't. They just failed spectacularly. They didn't. And then the government of the day said, well, look, I'm sorry, we're going to withdraw your permit because you were supposed to do all of this, and that was your agreement to us. So they withdrew the permit. The company took them to arbitration, and the country lost and had to pay over 300 million. And this is a company that just failed in all their undertakings. But they fought it on fair and equitable. Don't ask me how that works. All I can tell you is it did work. Last one. You have to accept arbitration. Okay, so now we come to the bit insider. told you what the trade agreements are about, and told you what the bilateral investment treaties do. The last bit, point 4, accept arbitration. Arbitration, you'll sometimes hear it referred to as it's a court. It is not a court. There is no judge, there is no jury. You, when you go to arbitration, or your nation goes to arbitration, you have no right to know who the 3 arbitrators are that are judging it. You have no right to know who they call as witnesses. You have no right to know what evidence they bring, and you have no right to know the basis upon which their decision was arrived at, and you have no right to appeal. Now that's just in the law. Okay? Arbitration is not under any international book. It's not part of the UN. Father Christmas doesn't get a look in. It is not part of an official body. Desmond Tutu doesn't work for it. The way that arbitration works is, and it's laid down in this bilateral investment treaty law, the company that's taking you to arbitration gets to choose an arbitrator. The nation gets to choose an arbitrator. And those 2 arbitrators should agree on a third. If they can't, there is a mechanism whereby a third will be chosen for you. Those 3 people, and I will tell you in a minute who they are, sit behind closed doors and make the decision. Now, I told you we signed about 80 of these investment treaties already. Did you know that we had been to arbitration recently? Did you know we lost? Did you know that you paid $180 million? Well, I'm very sorry about that. I bet you did. We were taken to arbitration by the lovely people of Raytheon Corporation. Raytheon. They make the stuff that we're dropping on our system a little bit. They're an arms manufacturer. However, they also decided that they would become an IT specialist, and they got the contract under the Labour government to create a huge system which was going to track all immigration and immigration. For 8 years, they missed every single one of their benchmarks. They didn't deliver on time, or they didn't work. Nobody disputes this. Raytheon don't dispute this at all. This government finally called time and said, that's it, contract's terminated. You've had 8 years, you've done bugger all. You haven't got anything that works. Raytheon took the arbitration on the grounds that this was unfair and unequitable because of the way the contract was terminated. 3 arbitrators got together in a closed room somewhere in London, and they decided that Raytheon were in the right, we were in the wrong. You paid $180 million and the money has gone. You can't get it back. I don't care. You can sign a petition. You can go and set yourself on fire for the 10 Downing Street. The money is not coming back. $180 million worth of pounds would probably do quite a lot of good for somebody. It's gone. So it happens. Who the heck are arbitrators? Arbitrators are, to be an expert in arbitration law, there are basically 15 or so, 20 top firms. And they're the really huge international firms. The top 3 are Freshfields. Freshfields, they were the competitors to Goldman Sachs to advise the German government when the bailouts of the German banks happened. That's the kind of work they do. White and Case, so the US firm, King and Spalding, those are the biggest 3. They are huge. Do not tangle with these people. They are not known for their pro bono work for good causes, environmental issues, labour disputes. They don't do that sort of thing. They charge their lawyers at a minimum about $150 an hour. Sorry, beg your pardon. $1,100 an hour. And those top 20 firms have done nearly all the arbitration cases. If you look at who, there are 15 arbitrators who have, get the figures for you. The top 15 arbitrators have decided 55% of all known disputes. I have to say all known because lots of these things are not required, to let anyone know. In other words, this country may have gone to other arbitration and will never because they don't have to tell us. But of the known cases, 15 people have decided 55% of them. And those same 15 people have decided 75% of the cases that involve claims bigger than $4 billion. All right? Now, we know their names. I can tell you some. There's a man called Jan Paulsen. He's a triple national, holding passports from Sweden, France, and Bahrain. He used to live in London. He recently moved to America. He opened his own boutique firm there. He's now a visiting professor at Florida University, something like that. And he wrote a blistering article a couple of years ago. He was hopping mad. What he was furious about is countries trying to regain control over their natural resources. I said, outrage. Absolute outrage. There's another man called Karl-Heinz Bockstiegel. Whenever he writes, his favourite analogy is whenever he refers to companies, they're David, and nations are Goliath. Go back to Jan Paulsen. He has recently been an arbitrator for ConocoPhillips, claiming 30 billion from Venezuela. Now you tell me who's David and who's Goliath. But in the world of Bockstiegel, the companies are just David, just trying to get them living. Those 15 people, they're nearly all men. There's one woman. They're nearly all from Europe or America. They are a very homogeneous group. They have the same set of prejudices and assumptions and outlooks. They eat in restaurants that you don't even know the name of, and if anyone did tell you the name, they certainly wouldn't let you in. They are not the kind of people who it occurs to think, well, what about the moral justification of this is? In fact, several of them have written to say there should be no environmental, no social, and no moral dimension when it comes to deciding arbitration cases. It is a matter of looking at the contracts. That's all. So it doesn't matter that Raytheon failed completely. What matters is the letter of the law of how that contract was terminated, for instance. Let me read you something that one of them has actually written, so that you don't have to just rely on me. Here you go. Here's a man called Fernandez Armesto. He's an arbitrator from Spain. He is an arbitrator. He's one of these 15 people. This is something that he wrote. These are his words. Okay? When I wake up at night and think about arbitration, it never ceases to amaze me that sovereign states have agreed to investment arbitration at all. 3 private individuals are entrusted with the power to review, without any restriction or appeal procedure, all actions of the government, all decisions of the courts, and all laws and regulations emanating from Parliament. Those are his words, not mine. And that is the power that they have. So what that means is, to give you a concrete example that's pertinent to here. At the moment, if you want to stop fracking, you can try. Okay? Because the companies involved are small startup companies, basically from this country. Once those small startup companies sell their right to drill to ELF, they're a big participant at the moment, or any other international company, then that company has a reasonable expectation of future profits. So if you were then to vote into power a leader who said, I'm going to put a stop to fracking, that leader will not be able to. Well, actually, that's not quite true. Of course they can. They can stop it, and then the next morning a little envelope will arrive at number 10, summoning them to arbitration, at which they will lose for a vast amount of money. As an immediate matter, taxpayers may be faced with paying an award that may be legally incorrect. And these taxpayers have no rights within the treaty or other means of redress. You don't have any rights at all. You don't know when you've gone to arbitration. When they're there, you have no idea who is going to do it, what they're going to say, what the basis of their argument is, and there is no appeal procedure at all. Who actually oversees these things then? Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 organisations, and all but one of them are private limited companies in and of themselves. So, for instance, There's the London Court of International Arbitration. That's the most secretive. The London Court doesn't have to tell a nation that they have even been taken to arbitration. That's, when you walk through the door, that's the agreement. Or there's the ICC, which is based in Paris, and the ICC is the International Chamber of Commerce. It's a business lobbying group, but they also oversee arbitration. The panels meet in those buildings. There's UNCITRAL, the UN Commission of International Trade Law. Do not be fooled with the fact that it's in the UN. Don't go, oh, phew, oh, the UN is a block. Their mission is to mandate the increase in global trade. So they're set out to increase global trade. So you can imagine where they would start from. It was shall we have fracking, shall we not have fracking? Well, you tell me which one is going to increase global trade. So there are just those five. When the hell does anyone do it? There are 3,000 of these things being signed. And our government and Labour will both sign when they get the chance. If you read what the arbitrators say, the argument they made up till about 2003, 2004 was that only if you sign bilateral investment treaties would you get other nations to invest in what they call foreign direct investment, FDI, if you like. They had to stop that because it was pointed out that the country that has some of them that can hardly stop foreign direct investment, they have to beat them off with a stick. Brazil hasn't signed any bilateral investment treaties. After this uncomfortable fact came to light, there were, I think, 5 studies done. The first one was in 2003 by the World Bank. And it looked at this question: if you sign these things, do you in fact attract more foreign trade? And the answer was no. And that was the World Bank.